Greetings and salutations, everyone. Kunik here, back with another RPG horror story for you today. In today's story, we have a player that is truly one of the most vile and mean people I have ever seen in one of these stories. I won't say any more, so with that all said, let's roll for initiative and begin the story. Roll20 can be an interesting place to find games. I've had decent luck in Roll20 as a DM for a large and long-running West Marches campaign, by just being picky and willing to kick bad eggs out early if they are problems. But as a player, the option of being picky and curating the experience is not present. So, at least as of a few years ago, my experience as a role player looking for a campaign on Roll20 looked a bit like this. Step 1. Find an interesting campaign. Step 2. Apply to said campaign with a lengthy, detailed application. Step 3. Typically at this point, I'd be kicked back to Step 1 due to not getting into the campaign. But sometimes I would get in. Happy day. In this small percentage of cases, I'd proceed to Step 4. Step 4. The game never happens, because half the people don't show up. This happened an astonishing number of times. But some rare few campaigns that I apply to that proceed to accept me and that I show up for actually do happen. In these miraculous instances, I'd move to Step 5. Step 5, the campaign has one session and then collapses. Very rare occasion, Step 5 would instead be, I find myself in a fun campaign with sane human beings who also enjoy my hobby. But not often. The following story is a tale of the examples of me joining a campaign and bouncing off of it. I can't say for certain it died after the first session like so many other Roll20 campaigns, but at the very least I bailed on it. So the DM on this campaign seemed like an okay enough guy at first. He had a nice world map and posted a bunch of details on the world in the campaign forum outlining the setting and its unusual stance on magic. Basically, if you were an arcane caster, you were going to be burned at the stake. And if you were a non-cleric or paladin of the dominant religion, or a druid, you weren't in quite that much trouble. But you were eyed with suspicion and would need to be careful, as some overzealous religious nuts might still want to kill you. The campaign started at level 10. I decided to roll up a moon druid, because it seemed safer than rolling up a wizard in this theocratic dystopia. I don't remember what name I had. I'm just going to call my character Druid McTreehugs. The rest of the party was a fighter, Bob, a paladin, Steve, and a warlock, Winona Ryder. The session begins with us meeting outside of a city that has called for aid because it is about to be besieged. My character shows up. Apparently, this group already knew each other out of the campaign, or had a session 0 where the characters all met, because the only one needing introductions was me. Hi guys! Are you here to protect Generic Fantasy Town 2? I'm Druid McTreehugs, says I. Are you a witch? Asks Bob the fighter immediately. What? No, I'm a healer, and why do you think I'm a witch? I replied. Do you do magic? Bob demanded. Some, but only the nice kind, I said. Totally a lie. I'm a bit of a munchkin, and many druid attack tactics are not at all nice. I got my eye on you, said Bob. Druids are a derogatory term, said the male voice of the warlock over Discord. His Discord image and name are Winona Ryder. I have no ducking idea what to say to this one, so I just don't. No one else comments. The DM continues. He describes how we have a long journey ahead of us to get to Generic Fantasy Village to save it. We set off as a group to do some fairly typical role-playing. For a few minutes, it seems like a fairly standard D&D group. That doesn't last. On the trail, my druid solves our food situation by summoning delicious good berries. This draws the ire of Bob the fighter and Winona Ryder the warlock. Are you sure you aren't a witch? Bob demands. I think he's a witch, says Winona Ryder. We have to give him a witch test, Bob says, drawing his sword. Do you consent to take the witch test willingly? If he's a witch, he must be burned, agreed the paladin. Does your dad know you're a derogatory term, druid? Asks Winona Ryder. I'm not even sure if that one is directed at me or my character, but I don't reply to it and no one else says anything. I'm kind of confused at this point. I expected NPCs to be potentially hostile to a druid based on the campaign information, but I didn't expect a party member to be drawing steel over ducking berries, egged on by a homophobic warlock, and for the record, I'm straight, and I have no idea what the heck this guy is on about. At this point, I'm getting annoyed, as it looks like a lot of initiative is about to be rolled, and I do not handle it with poise and calm. I handle it like a munchkin who knows, for a fact, I could take on the rest of the party by myself if it came to PvP. Nothing against people who don't optimize, but the sheets are all public, and at this point I glance at their sheets and notice that these characters trying to bully mine are what might be charitably called by an optimizer subpar. Nope, not going to take your test. I'm a druid, I do nature magic. Don't like that? Too bad. Oh look, magic! And I summon 16 giant poisonous snakes. So it's at this point that initiative is rolled. The DM, for his part, seems to stay entirely neutral. He doesn't care about the other characters threatening mine. He doesn't care about the homophobic slurs. And he doesn't care that my character is winding up a haymaker to hit back, or that is how it appears. I win initiative, and so do my snakes. I am aware at this point things have gone off the rails, and it is not entirely likely my character is going to get along with this group. But the munchkin in me is pleased to see that I am almost certain to take that smug Winona Ryder warlock down. I transform into an elemental, give my snakes their orders, and earth glide downward. No reason to stay exposed when my pets can do the work, right? My snakes approach Winona Ryder to attack. 16 giant, poisonous snakes against someone with the AC 16. This should be very messy. My snakes will hit a bit better than half the time, dealing heavy damage, and he'll be lucky to survive this onslaught. I Eldritch Blast each snake as it approaches, declares Winona Ryder. He proceeds to, with the DM letting him, do a full volley of 3 beams at each snake as in opportunity attack. It is at this point I think my brain broke a little, because everything about this is wrong from a rules perspective. It's like an onion of rules stupidity. There are so many layers. I don't even know where to begin here. You don't get an opportunity attack because something approaches you unless you have a feat or a class feature that says so, and there are no such warlock abilities. But even if there were, you only have 1 reaction, so he could do this to at most 1 snake. But even if he could react to someone attacking him in melee and had infinite reactions, snakes have a 10-foot range. He can do it anytime someone attacks him? Edit. Oh, and I just remembered, you don't get 3 beams with Eldritch Blast until 11. We were 10. I point out at this point that basically everything here is wrong, and there are no rules anywhere that allow anything even remotely like this, and the DM states, we do things a little differently. No crap. Would have been nice to have this different rules available to everyone. So 16 snakes all die before they get to attack, and my elemental druid pops his head up a ways off on his next turn. So wait, you guys are just cool with that dude sending out magic death beams, but you're hassling me over berries? I ask, a mix between in character and out of character. No reply. At this point, the DM intervenes and has a messenger from a generic fantasy town rush up and inform us that generic fantasy town needs our help. The party stops fighting. I kind of check out, with my elemental lagging a bit behind in case the idiot attacks me again. I'm pretty much done at this point. I stay just long enough to hear Winona Ryder convincing a child in generic fantasy town to drink a vial of black liquid to induct them into the cult of Cthulhu. At this point, I just facepalm in real life, disconnect from the server, and wonder why I just wasted hours of my life on this crap. End post. Okay, Dungeon Masters do have ultimate control over the game. I mean, it's all made up to begin with. They can do whatever rules they want, but you kind of need to have it in writing. You can't just assume you're going to be able to get away with whatever you want, especially in a ridiculous case such as this, and not have it written down somewhere that you could actually do that. It's stretching things just a little too much. Regardless, the way the Warlock was treating the player with all of his homophobic slurs really would not have stood up in any campaign I was in. Even as a player, I would have messaged the DM to let him know that, hey, this is not cool, please talk to him about this. The fact that the DM remained neutral to those is very suspicious, to say the least. I'm glad that OP left the campaign. He was definitely not a fit for it, and hopefully he gets a little bit better luck in the future with Roll20 so that he doesn't have such terrible luck in finding a campaign that even goes to Campaign 1. I mean, if need be, he can always join my Discord server, link in the description, where we have a looking for group chat in case you want to find a campaign. Anyhow, that is it for today's story. As always, the source of the video is in the description below, and if you like the story and you want to see more videos just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon to be notified of my future videos. And as about 80% of you watching are not subscribed, it would be doing me a huge favor for you to do so in order to help keep the channel and community growing. Anyhow, while you wait for my future videos, here are a few related videos from my channel that you can watch in the meantime.